Okay. For some reason, I'm just not allowed to see myself speak to you guys, which is very weird because I'm just talking to a black screen. And it's a little frustrating because I don't know how well my face can be seen or my mouth can be seen for others out there who have different advantages than all of us. So hopefully I'm in a good spot. I've tried it twice now. Ugh, my smacking. I noticed that in my last video, guys. I'm really sorry that I smacked. And I did my best to block out the light a little bit, but my light bar's charging. And it's a really gray, rainy day out today. Today's a very come as you are day. Um, I am not sleeping well. I realize that I don't have stress dreams. I have nightmares. um, Also, that my fibro is acting up today or since last night. I have tingling in my arm today and it's not gone away. It's a little bit better now, but like my hands are very, very sore. Usually back in the day it was my ankles, but my hands and my elbow and my shoulders have been giving me more problems lately. So I did want to touch back on a little bit. I've made lots of notes. So I did want to touch back on the um, criteria to meet borderline personality disorder, which is 5 out of 9 of the symptoms or characteristics. So that is actually not that much to be considered borderline personality disorder. Traits, attributes, obviously, it's going to be a spectrum just like anything else. Hey, Batman, you want to come up? Here, do you want me to put the blanket down for you? You don't want to lay on my bony ankles. Sorry, this is my sick old man of the house. I should have gave you some gabapentin before I got on. You just want to lay down with me? That's fine. Okay, so it is 5 out of 9 criteria you do need to meet to be considered borderline personality disorder. So for going back over some of the environmental factors alone, being a victim of emotional, physical, or sexual abuse, my case was being exposed to long-term fear or distress as a child, um, possibly your parents fighting all the time, insecurity, even if you were just a kid that was more scared of ghosts or monsters or the boogeyman, whatever's under your bed. Some kids get night terrors. Being neglected by one or both parents, and then growing up with another family member that doesn't have to be your parents, but another family member who has a serious mental health condition or substance use disorder. Yeah, me and I got to be doing stuff, okay? I did want to touch back on, I got up to third grade, and in third grade, I was back in Florida. And so I want to touch back in Alabama. That is actually where I was abused sexually for the first time. And I was probably 4 or 5 years old. And it was by the neighbor boy who actually literally had the same, honey Batman, the same birthday as I did. We celebrated our birthdays together. I have pictures, or I used to have pictures. My mother has all the pictures of us celebrating our birthdays in the park I really like to enjoy in Alabama. My mother was working, I would assume, and she had employed the neighbor to watch me. I'm not sure if my sibling was born, possibly, but they would have just been a newborn baby. So I remember being over at their house, which is right next to our house, like take a normal size house and then split it down the middle. Instead of splitting it in half, they split it down the middle long ways. And so we shared the same front porch, even though our front doors were on the sides of the house. Very confusing setup. So she was supposed to be watching us, and I don't know where she was at the time, but we were in the kids' bedrooms, the back bedrooms, and he had wanted to play house and pushed me in between the wall and the bed and laid on top of me and squirmed a little bit while his older sister, who was a couple years older, kind of sat and watched. And then he had like, I believe another younger sibling, maybe two, that were on the bed kind of looking down. And I remember my stomach not feeling well at all. So he is really happy. Um, Another thing I remembered, I was telling my therapist after last meeting or video that I had this comforter, kind of not unlike the one I have now. It's got dinosaurs on it. I think I mentioned that last time. It's a comfort blanket. That I had this white animal comforter and it had African animals on it, and they were elephants, lions, zebras, giraffes, antelopes. And my mom would, tuck me in. I would read a chapter of James and the Giant Peach. She'd go to her room or go wherever. And it was time for me to go to bed. I'm not sure when I started doing this, and I couldn't tell you why at the moment, but I could guess why now I did it. But I would literally stroke each animal that surrounded my body laying down like a barrier, like a border, and I would thank them and tell them I love them and ask them, each animal, to protect me while I slept, that nothing came of me. Sad. I didn't have imaginary friends, but I did have like human feelings in stuffed animals. And I was definitely the one. And if you remember as a kid, or if you guys have a child now that does this, feeling like I needed to keep all of the animals in my bed with me, because if I chose one, I would hurt the rest of their feelings, and I love them all equally. So my mother would tell me to go to bed, and I would then shove all of my stuffed animals. You'd have this big lump, and then me barely sticking out with the comforter, and then my two favorite stuffed animals next to me, which was this really soft brown bear that was in a brown plaid dress, who was the girlfriend of my panda bear that my father had gotten me. And as far as I remember, he had no nose. Apparently, he had a nose at one time. I don't ever remember my panda bear with a nose. And it was kind of ridiculous how, like, I couldn't picture it with a nose, but he deserved to have a nose. He's a panda bear. Panda bears have noses, but it looked odd seeing him with a nose on now. So we never put one back on him. Needless to say, I still have my panda bear. I had to give up a lot of stuffed animals when we moved, and his girlfriend was one of them, and it really saddened my heart. But there's a book called No Room for Sarah. It's a kid's book, and it pretty much accurately explains how I feel when I was a kid with stuffed animals. Um, Gosh, what else do I have? Sorry, I'm going to read my notes. Oh, I also remember not having a lot of friends until I went to magnet school, so 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. And so in the playground, I would always be swinging by myself. I love to swing. I think I mentioned that before. I like to rock. I like to swing. Na 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 Batman. Na 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 Batman. Like, I don't know. It was more peaceful. It was more calming for me. So, oh yeah. Around the 3rd grade time frame, I did love watching music videos, and I always thought that music videos that were on the TV meant that they were playing this song on the radio. And whenever I liked a really good music video, I'd run and try to change my mom's radio station so she could and I would get so frustrated. I was like, I know there's 3 country stations, I can't find it. Um, didn't make sense to me that that's not how technology worked. I would always rent the movies, and not at a Blockbuster, mind you, at like a privately owned video rental shop. And I would get Edward Scissorhands and Never Ending Story like nobody's business. I remember again. Yes, I want to watch it again. I was entranced by Edward Scissorhands. I like bled for him. I cried for him. Like, I understood his struggle. Like, it tore at my heart. And the Never Ending Story, like, besides the pit of despair, I think that was hard until you get to the end. And Indian in the Cupboard. Indian in the Cupboard was another one I really, really enjoyed. The fantasy and like being able to help. I remember having Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sheets. I had a New Kids on the Block sleeping bag and coloring book because I would sleep on the floor. Even though I had bunk beds, I would sleep on the floor because my father had gotten a ferret for me, possibly, or maybe it was for him. And then things didn't work out. And so it had to be for me. And so I would choose to sleep on the floor. So that way the ferret would be able to come up and sleep. And he would sleep on my chest. And he would always start at the bottom of the sleeping bag and leave like a little hole at the bottom. And he would jump all the way through. And you just see this lump under my blankets coming up and sleep with me. We also got our cat, Prince, who was actually called Princess until we found out he was a prince. But we were trick-or-treating in our neighborhood, and the cat started following us home, and he came in for the night, stayed with us. He had half a tail because his tail had gotten run over. He was declawed, and he was an outdoor cat. He was this big, beautiful, white, fluffy cat. I have pictures. Maybe I'll show pictures one day of all my animals that really helped me and protected me. And he kind of chilled with us for a bit. My mom tried to take him back to the owner. The owner said, "Oh, if he likes you, you can have him." So that's how we ended up with a princess turned prince. And I remember at that house before we moved, we had a teepee in our yard, and I'm not quite sure why we had the teepee or if like I remember it was made of sheets, so I think it was just something I just asked my mom if it was something we could do, and she was able. She has a creative mind. She puts her mind to it. She's very creative, has a really good green thumb. And I remember going inside the teepee and playing Babysitter's Club and pretending I was on the phone, pretending I was booking like clients. I love the Babysitter Club books. And we had this neighbor who had this really big house compared to ours and had this huge, huge backyard with tree houses and playhouses and all sorts of crazy stuff. And these inside this big house, they had a big den, a big playroom area, and we were able to like grab mattresses and throw them on the ground and run around and do all sorts of fun stuff and just be a kid. And it was really fun over there. But I remember they were really heavy into church. I can't remember which denomination. And I remember they took my sibling to on vacation with them and then possibly extended the vacation a little bit. I remember my mother saying that they stole my sibling, um, which it could have been very much a miscommunication, especially being they were traveling. My mother worked and we didn't have cell phones at the time. I don't even think my mom had a beeper. No, my dad did. I don't know if my mom did, but my dad did a lot of blue collar work that needed a beeper, like tow truck driving and regular truck driving and things of that nature. Um, and I also remember where we lived. Across from where we lived, we had this like long dirt driveway. So the house we stayed in was set further back than the houses on the road, and across was this big open field. And now I think it actually has a church on it. But in this big open field, two crazy things happened. There was a house here, a big open field, and then like another house here. And inside of this big open field, a private airplane crashed into the two-story building. And then another day or months, whatever it was, a hot air balloon landed in the field. And this area, like, is a pretty common area. So it was kind of shocking to see this. It was really beautiful. A hot air balloon. I love seeing the hot air balloon because it deflated. It was beautiful and blowing in the wind. I loved it. So those were really interesting things. So as I get into third grade, I will say that third grade is really where my core memories start coming out and a lot more abuse. I start remembering or start blaming myself for or trying to fix as an 8, 9, 10-year-old, 11-year-old. So in third grade, I finally went to a magnet school and it was like 45 minutes from my house, maybe even an hour, especially with traffic. But this school was so amazing. It was so beautiful. They had these really rich, deep purple colors all throughout the school. it had a lot of money and it took in a lot of people from the area, which is really good because we were in their downtown area, and our downtown area is not does not have enough money or care that it should have. And so we had two well, three schools technically, a elementary, middle, and high school that weren't that far from each other. I don't think the elementary school had anything specifically tied to it, but it could be TV production because I remember we did a lot of TV production at that elementary school. The middle school was more of rocket science, and then the high school was nursing, a nursing program. So in the elementary school is where I really learned like to get value and worth from the work I put into school, which is really easy for me. And so I was able to kind of, I don't want to say manipulate, but maybe I was manipulating my teacher some, which I feel awful for. And I also had a bad habit of being a little klepto. I remember I would steal like we had these rocket tickets because if we were good and we were on our best behavior, we got these rocket tickets. And at the end of the week, you get to take your tickets to the rocket shop, and they had puppet bags and erasers and pencils and notebooks and just little kid things that you would find at any Dave and Buster's or something like that. I remember I was trusted a lot with the animals. I remember we had fourth grade. Just jumping ahead, gosh. I had a fish tank in our classroom, and our fish had babies, and that was amazing. I remember watching them have babies, and I thought it was beautiful. And then they started eating their babies, and I got sad. Anyways, back to the school. The school is beautiful. It had this really big, huge, purple, beautiful, and I think I have a picture of this fish tank in the main lobby, and the most brightly colorful fish. I had this one fish who was rainbow, rainbow, and he would follow my finger. And I spent so much time at that school because we had to get there. We got there not super early, but we got there where we didn't have to go to like extended day in the morning, but I had to do extended day in the afternoon while we waited for my mom to get off work. Man, those were some crazy fun times. Extended day was, I don't know, it was a lot of fun. I met some of my best friends an extended day, and they actually got to come over and have a sleepover, and we ate pizza and watch Edward Scissorhands, and I was the last one up watching the movie. I loved it. I loved it because it was my house. I had a really hard time because of the abuse I suffered being able to stay at other people's homes, and I would get really sick to my stomach and not be able to sleep and have a lot of anxiety and dread in my body. So I get to third grade and everything's bright and challenging. We have an IBM lab, we have a Mac lab, we have computers in our classroom. Everything's so interactive. We do laser discs. I watched The Lion King. I think that was in fourth grade. Uh, when it came out on Laserdisc, I remember being terrified of earthquakes because of California and their big earthquake that was on Laserdisc, and the bridge, the double bridge they have, collapsed on itself and killed. Like that scared me to no end. So I have a little bit of a fear sometimes, not all the time, but when I drive over certain bridges, it'll hit me sometimes. I'm like, oh, please, no earthquake. It's the silly things, right? The silly things that keep us on our toes. We had a really awesome guidance counselor, Miss Wise. And she was beachy and she was fun and freckly and calming. And I really, really enjoyed her presence. And I actually became a victory over violence peer mediator because I thought if I could find the tools, if I could find the tools to stop my mom from getting so angry, and then eventually her anger and rage turned to hitting, especially when we tried to answer questions. I thought that I would be able to find some tool, some way to help my mom and make all of our lives better, and I'd be able to fix it, and we would just be happy. Also did the DARE program at that school. Um, Both of my parents are substance have substance use disorder, which I don't I don't blame them for trying to numb their own trauma. I don't. But at some point as an adult, you have to take responsibility for healing that trauma, which is what I'm doing. And I started way too late. I'm glad I'm doing it, but I feel like if I had the right tools at my disposal, right people asking the right questions, um, I would have had more of a life. And that doesn't sound fair because I don't want to discount the experiences I've had with so many people. But so many times I was in my house, I was alone, having to watch siblings and just tearing myself apart, wondering what I can do and what I can change to not get the assaults that I got. I really enjoyed this school. I enjoyed being on the computers. I really enjoyed computers a lot. I enjoyed typing a lot. It was easy. It's right there. I had a really good memory, a photographic memory, so I could see the keyboard in my head. So I really flew through the typing classes. I love being in Mac Lab and being able to experience and create. We played Oregon Trail and Roller Coaster Tycoon and Sims, a version of SimCity, and get into Hyper Studios and be able to build and create so many things. I loved it so much. Then in the classroom we had computers and we had so many games on those math blasters or crunchers or whatever. Uh, the reading I was just playing. I found a DOS website online and I was playing one of the games where you're kind of like an elf and you have to climb up the mountain and answer trivia questions and do a lot of math and shoot things with snowballs. I remember that being one of my favorite games ever to play. We had really cool teachers that really wanted to make an effort. I remember Miss Janelle, Miss Phillips. Oh, is it Miss Hanson? Oh, I'm going to be so mad if I can't remember her name. Mr. Phillips did a lot of TV production stuff, so that was cool to learn how to make videos. I got to be in a few videos. Oh no! Sorry guys, my screen locked. I didn't realize it was going to do that. I got to be in a few videos. I remember really being goofy and fun and just being okay allowing to have that. I remember playing like field days. We had field days. I never had a field day before, and it was massive. And all the parents came out. I believe my mom came out. I know my dad. Sorry, I'm stimming with my hair. I know my dad came to a graduation. I can't remember if he came to field day. I'm pretty sure it was my mom. And I know she wasn't there for the whole thing of it because obviously being a single mother, she had to work. She came for an end of it. But it was so much fun and there were so many obstacles and it didn't matter winning or losing because everyone kind of won. We had a lot of days outside, we had a lot of days inside the big parachute where I felt safe and I felt like I could discuss feelings more openly. It was a really nice being under the parachute. Oh my gosh. I remember trying out. This is awful. And I don't know how I got talked into doing this, but my friend at the time, my best friend at the time in elementary school, one of them, I had two, but she talked me into trying out for the talent show, which my mom did bring me to, and it was a really great talent show. I'm so glad I wasn't in it. To TLC's Creep. No, was it Creep or was it Digging? Digging on you, digging. Yeah, it was. Oh my God. I actually did some dance to that to that song in front of teachers in 4th grade. I'm so glad they denied it. It was horrible, and I'm so glad I didn't tell my mom. I would've gotten in so much trouble. She didn't like some of the stuff I was learning, at that school that seemed to be more adult, but that's what happens when you go to public school. You learn things because not everyone's parents are the same type of parents. I can't believe I did that. I had my first kiss in 5th grade by a boy, and I was super pressured into it. Oh yeah, because I was a patrol and he was a patrol. I forgot. Yeah, I was a good patrol guard. And that's one of the lessons I learned in my life being a patrol guard. One of the many lessons I had to learn by Kathy. Um, I was riding the bus. So I was in 5th grade and we had a bully on our bus and it was a female and she was picking on someone. And I said, well, I could ignore it. And I was very nervous. But I said, no, not only are you a patrol guard, but you're a peer mediator and you should try to help with the situation. So I went and tried to help and it didn't work. And I got pushed into a seat and I got punched a few times. So I went home. And whenever my mom got home, I told her what happened. She was angry with me and told me that's why I shouldn't stick my nose in other people's business. It's not my problem, and I got what I deserved for putting my nose in their business. Completely went against everything I was being taught at that school. I shouldn't have intervened when someone needed help. It didn't make sense to me. It didn't feel right at all. There's a lot in that school. Oh, I remember being upset. Sorry, Batman, I gotta grab this paper. I remember being upset at my mother for not being able to come to something. And she wanted to help me understand why she couldn't always be there when I asked. So I had this poem that she wrote me in a frame that she gave me in my bedroom for many, many years. Probably until I moved out and then I put it in my hope chest. And it says, for my dead name, because mommy can't always be there. There is a person whom we all know whose opinion is so strong that in the event you are uncertain, she'll keep you from doing wrong. She's always there, as friends should be, to guide you through your day, to help you make all your decisions, to show you how the right way. Yes, that's in quotes. If you are uncertain, the answer's there. Just look into her eyes. She's a lifelong friend and knows what's best and will never tell you lies. So learn to trust her as friends should do. She's always close at hand. Make sure you treat her with respect and always the best that you can. For you see, she knows right, and there will never be anyone dearer than that one special friend you will always see when you look in your eyes in the mirror. Maybe it's a good poem if it was a friend writing it to me, trying to assure their trust. But literally, the title says, because mommy can't always be there, and it has no explanation as to why she has to work the long hours she does, or why there are certain events she just can't make because of her own emotional distress, or being tired, or having to pick up a sibling. Like, there could have been so many other things here, but know that, like, even though I'm not there, I support you. I love you. I'm proud of you. You could be saying anything except saying that I need to respect you, treat you the best that I can, know that you're right, know that you're not going to lie to me, know that you're always going to be my friend, even though you literally told me all the time, I can't be friends with you. You're my daughter. That's not how this relationship works. Sorry, that was kind of a mean voice I put on. Um, yeah, I didn't realize it until much later in life that like this poem was not sweet. And maybe it was sweet in her way, in her eyes, and I don't know what sorry, I'm trying not to get choked up. I don't know what exactly was going through her mind when she wrote that, but it doesn't explain to me fully as a child what I couldn't get. And that like let me go off a little tangent here. When trying to make children understand things, you have to come down to their level. They are not adults. I don't care how well they are raised or treated. Their mind cannot comprehend certain ways you say things. You have to try different ways to get on their level. And if you can't do that, you need to enlist somebody else to help you with that. With that tangent being said, I have two things on this remark. I'll give mine first and I'll explain why I did what I did later on. At one point, I was in middle school, so we're skipping ahead just a little bit. I'm about to be in middle school. I don't understand math. I understand math to a certain point. Once we get I don't understand graphing. Graphing cannot make sense to me. I can't even understand how to make a graph on a calculator, so I don't have to graph. I literally, if I have to do anything now, I put formulas into Google and hope for the best. So once I got past I barely passed algebra 1. There was no more help for me out there. I even failed college math, which is just high school math. I don't get math very well. I get it up to a certain point and then it makes my brain hurt. I can get everything else, but math is just not my strong suit. And I don't know if it was a graphing problem or a very heavy algebraic problem. And I was trying to get help from my mom. And where we were living at, I'll explain it later on. We're almost to that point. Kind of almost. She had a couch that was facing these huge sliding glass doors because the room she was in was like a 2 or 3 car, no, a 4-car garage, I believe is what they said. Me thinking now, maybe 3 cars. But at the time, they said it was a 4-car garage, and it was transformed into an addition onto the house. So there was no garage to the house, which is fine because it's Florida, and we had this huge driveway. And she had a couch that was facing the window to get natural light, and her TV was off to the side, kind of catty corner. And I came in asking for help, and she was trying to explain it to me, and I couldn't get the answer. Like, I don't know how to show my work. And she kept trying to explain it in her way, and she was getting frustrated with me, especially because if my mother was at home, it usually meant it was her time. She spent 15 minutes checking on her chores, checking on homework or whatever else, and then went to the room. Door was shut. Anytime door was shut, she was smoking marijuana, and we were not to disturb that time. So I guess with all the frustration, she got angry and threw the math book at me and hit me and yelled at me and told me to get the fuck out of her room. Sorry. I was doing so well. To get out of her room. And I was crying. And of course, anytime I cry, I'm a baby. Because I couldn't understand a math problem at 11, 12 years old. Brings me to my point much later on in life, actually in this house. I was sitting in my bedroom, probably a Saturday, probably maybe a Friday. Very nice weather, had my windows open, smoking a joint. I had all, I don't know, 6, 7 out of 9 animals in the bedroom with me, laying on the bed, laying on their own beds, laying in the cat tower, enjoying the day. And my backyard, or my window overlooks my backyard and then the cul-de-sac behind me. And in the cul-de-sac behind me, there was a new family that had moved in with an existing family member, and they weren't doing well. And they ordered a lot of DoorDash or whatever, Grubhub, I don't care. A lot of delivery people were coming with, like, a Dunkin' Donuts drink, coffee or something like that. Like, there was always it was 3 times a day maybe, and it wasn't just, like, an actual meal for everybody. It was, like, ones or 2 things. Onesie, twosies things. It's no, those aren't real words. Stop. Sorry, guys. A little parched as I drink my Coke because I don't feel good today. My water is sitting right there too. Um, so they have a little child, probably about 9 or 10, very helpful child. See them from time to time, always doing some kind of chores, always very excited to help and try to do something. He was outside and his father was yelling at him, kind of making him stand at attention, and was yelling at him with this arm in his face, and not yelling, but very stern. Oh, sorry, Batman, you're sliding. I'm sorry. Very stern. And started telling him, you don't even appreciate the PlayStation 4. You can't even keep your room clean for this PlayStation 4 we got you, but you want a birthday party and we told you you can't have any birthday parties. We told you we don't have money for things like that. We're poor on money and you're wanting all of this stuff when you can't even like, just berating this kid for minutes who just wants to celebrate his birthday. Yes, as children, we all want these big fun things. Most of us, not all of us. Some of us do like quiet. And should I hair tie? And he just wanted to be happy about something. And his dad's berating this child. Okay? The child's not even trying. I mean, he kind of trying to speak back, but there's no room for that. And I got fed up. I got really fed up and I yelled, go yell at your kid inside your house. Stop doing it in public. He didn't respond. He went in the house. And 15 minutes later, the mom comes out, tells me to mind my own business, yells at me through my window as I'm sitting on my bed watching whatever, probably YouTube. And I yelled back at her. I said, how am I not to make it my business when I can hear it in my bedroom? If you want to abuse your child, do it inside your house. And she was saying something, and I wasn't there for it. I wasn't going to have it at all. And so my response every time she spoke was abuse your child in your own home. Abuse your child in your own home. She kept saying, I have no idea what she said. And I kept getting louder and louder until she just walked in. I think a week or two later, they moved out and it was quiet for some time, thankfully. Children don't comprehend things the way adults can. They don't. Especially in a toxic household. All they're trying to do is get a little bit of hope, a little bit of glimmer, a little bit of something to feel normal like everybody else does. So I can't remember if it was third or fourth or fourth to fifth grade. We moved out of the house that had the Disney walls and we moved into the 4-car bedroom house. It's going to get heavy, guys. In this house, at this time, I believe my mother was working at not quite a CPS, but a program that helps children and helps get services for domestic abuse and sexual assault and certificates and all this stuff. I actually have a certificate for being at her job for Take Your Daughter to Work Day and being at her job and learning these things. And actually being quite upset that she could do this job, but do what she was doing to us. I remember feeling such hard mixed emotions about that. Like, here are all these tools to help get people out of trouble, but yet you're causing us pain and yelling at us and screaming at us and hitting us. So when we moved to this house, because of this job, I believe she met our future roommate, I guess, and they decided to move in together into this house. So it's a really nice house. I actually really liked the house. It was in the neighborhood that was across from my high school, at my future high school. Had a pool in the backyard, had all this really beautiful shrubbery, had a screened in back porch that went from the dining room all the way to the master bedroom, had a tiki bar in it. Just a really cool house. And it was my sibling, myself, my mother, her roommate, and her roommate's boyfriend. So the roommate and the roommate's boyfriend got the converted area. My mother got the master, which had her own bathroom and closet. And then at the other end of the house was single bedrooms, very small bedrooms. And it was for my sister and I. We each got a room, and then we shared our bathroom with the roommate, the boyfriend, and the two of us. So all of the rooms in the house had sliding glass doors that led out to some part of the backyard, which is really dope. Kind of scary though. My sister's sliding glass door was, and I think we put stuff in front of it because it scared her. Actually, was right next to the gate where we had an electric fence for our dogs. No, the dogs. um, as much as I enjoyed certain parts of this house became hell. I remember my mom even caught me as a kid trying to understand my body and yelled at me for it. My mother had a hard time with boundaries, especially like us being naked in that bathroom. I remember one time I was taking a shower, and I don't know if my mom she didn't demand us to be naked, but she's like, "You shouldn't be bothered. I'm just your mother. You shouldn't have to cover everybody. You shouldn't have to be embarrassed. You shouldn't have to da 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 da. I'm your mother." And she wanted in our bathroom while I was getting ready, and I was like, "Okay, the door's unlocked." No, she's like, "No, no, no, just open it." And I was like, "No, mom, I'm naked. The door's unlocked." And I had the shower going, and she busted in with her roommate, which is a female, and took a picture of me. And while you can't see anything in the picture, I felt very taken advantage of, hugely taken advantage of. And when I got upset, I got yelled at and was told to stop being a baby, that it was just a joke. It was just a prank. Um, I didn't enjoy it. I spent a lot of my time in that house focused on school, chores, my dog, or the pool. I kept and maintained that pool in kind of the outback area. That was my serenity. That was my calming spot. That was my peace, because I had so much time between when I got home from school and when my mother came home to have me time and to not have to worry about getting yelled at for something. Trying to figure out where to go with this. Maybe that's why it happened. So in this house, I had a friend who lived, we shared a bus, and she lived a few neighborhoods down. Poor apartments, poor apartments. I loved it. They were small, they were cramped, but they were by the woods, and I would go down to her house and watch music videos and tie-dye jeans and go play in the woods where I got a tick from behind my ear that hurt. Um, just have fun, and she would come to my house. On the weekends, when my father would actually get me and not have his own emotional breakdown, and he would run away a lot to Tennessee or Georgia or whatever, and not pick me up, which would then devastate me because my only reprise relief my only relief from the house was going to my father's house. Even though it was a different type of anxiety there, I wasn't getting physically abused or yelled at. I did get yelled at from time to time because you're a kid, and adults have short fuses from time to time, and I would be grounded. One of these weekends, oh gosh. One of these weekends, I was away. My friend had come over to use the pool, and my mother's roommate's boyfriend let her in. This is the heavy stuff, guys, and which, like, sorry for the close-up. We're about to go into all this sticker book, Lisa Frank book, University of Florida stuff as a kid. Sorry, guys, I hit my mouse. There's so many Lisa Frank stickers on here, which makes me happy. That's what my hair is. This binder is the culmination of sexual assault on myself and 2 others. And if it wasn't for my friend, who knows how long it would have gone on. While I feel I got the bare minimum of what happened in that house with this man, I carried a lot of guilt and shame for the things he did to the other victims, because at least one of them got him a lot worse. You can't do me. Okay, let me take my glasses off. You're not supposed to lick my mouth. You're supposed to lick my tears. Hey, Bowie Bosov. Hi. Hi, Ziggy. I see you too. You're a good boy too. Yeah, you can come say hi. Hi, Ziggy. I know you're not supposed to be back here. And I feel like it was my fault because I didn't make more of an effort to spend time or acknowledge, or I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't. And I learned I'm not supposed to feel guilty for being a kid and not knowing what to do. I carried a lot of guilt, and maybe I still have it. But, like, I could have been there and done more to prevent things. And I was at my father's house when everything got exposed. And my father answered the call, and I'm assuming it was my mother. And he made me come sit at the dining room table. And he was so emotionally triggered when he started yelling at me and pounding on the table and demanding to know if this man touched me. And while he did, I never told my dad that he did because I didn't want him to go to jail. He was just yelling and yelling at me, scaring me so bad. I told my mother because I felt like she wouldn't get angry with me. Oh, wait, no, you can't lick your scar. You can't do it. He got brain surgery the other day. Um, so thankfully, Florida had a really good program for kids. And maybe because of the department my mom was working for at the time, baby, there's no room. I know you want to be up here, but there's no room. Batman's about to jump up here. No, sir. He's checking the mail. No. He's allowed to check the mail. Hey. No, sir. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you. You're a good boy. Guys, there's no room. I love you all. Even Batman's up here now. I have to have room. Go play. Where's your ball? Go get your balls. Go play. Go play. I mean, you don't have any, but go get them. Come on, Batman. I don't even want to lay down. Sorry. So because of whatever, we got a few months of therapy, which is where this binder comes in at. Yes, I knew you were going to lay on my blanket. All of this is the confessions and statements we made. Got my first therapist who made such an impact on me, and I think knew something was happening more in the house but couldn't help us, I guess. I don't know. But we went through and you're stuck. And learned how to use a voice, I guess. And look, I even made dinosaurs. Some things just don't change. Oh, it's this picture. I don't want to see that. She wrote me a note. She was a really good therapist for kids. She really let us listen, and I got to have one-on-one time and actually never felt afraid. He got arrested and got charged with 2 counts or 2.5 counts and got like 67 years, I think, in prison. I think actually he'll be out within the next couple of years. They had a baby. I have no idea if anything happened to the baby, but if it happened to the other victim, I wouldn't put it past them. So my mom's roommate moved out, and we rearranged the living situation, which meant my sister stayed in her room. Maybe that wasn't a good idea for her. I got the master, which then meant everybody was coming in. My sister had her own bathroom, but everybody was coming in to my room to use the bathroom because it was closest and bigger. And my mom used half of my closet for her stuff and to get ready for work. It was a big room. I even had a couch, a pull-out couch in there, the sliding glass door. My mom moved to the 4-car converted area. Because at one point, my sister and I shared that room, but it did not work out. Probably my fault. And so once, and I think this is how it happened. I could be wrong a bit, but once they were gone, we started to get more animals in our house. More snakes. We had birds. That's where I got my buddy. We had not just birds. They were all parrots. double yellow-headed African. That was my buddy, cockatoo, yellow cockatoo. And then we had Huckleberry, who was a scarlet macaw. I loved Huckleberry. She was the best. And we got dogs. My mom got a boyfriend. He had a dog. And then I got my puppy Jack. I actually have a tattoo for him. Hey, no, sir. Do you want your cone on? Or you want your muzzle on? You do not lick that. Come here. Let me pull your shirt down. No, sir. All right. My dog, Jack, was a Labradoodle of all things back then, back in the 90s. Someone's lab and someone's poodle in our neighborhood happened. Well, it was, I know whose poodle it was. I don't know whose lab it was. Got out, had puppies, and 2 of the puppies had gotten out. The 2 cute, fluffy ones gotten out. And my mom was taking him back to the owner, who lived a few houses down from us. And they asked if my mom wanted one. And she took the one that wasn't jumping around the seats. His name was Jack. He actually looks just like Doodly Doo. Jack saved me so many times, and he doesn't even know it. So as I think it was a belated birthday gift, I got no. I got him before my birthday because I had pictures at a birthday party of me holding him up as a puppy. I got Jack. And in trying to keep the house clean, feed birds, I know, I almost called you Jack. Doodly doo. I know. Mommy's going to be okay. Yeah! You tore up my stuff. Good job. Please go play. Go play. I know you won't go play. As I tried to teach things to my dog, I was teaching him the way my mother would teach me. So anytime he went and do something I said, I would hit him or try to put him in the corner. I really put my puppy in a corner. At 11 years old, 12 years old, trying to, I know, I'm allowed to be sad, okay? I'm not out in public. It's okay. You're a good boy. Please. You scared Batman. You hurt Batman. Please go lay down. Please go lay down. No. No. No, 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 no. I love you too. Come on. Come on. Please. Go. Doodly do. Go on. Doodly do. I'll be okay. No. Go on. Won't you come lay on the couch? Go. Do my job, Mom. He's pouting down on the ground. Sorry, that was hard to admit. I have some other dark stuff. And then I got yelled at and I got in trouble. And I'm not sure if I got hit because maybe she saw. So at this time, I'm in middle school. I'm in a magnet middle school, a really fun magnet middle school. But the middle school was not organized or maintained, or the teachers didn't care like they did in elementary school. And maybe that's just the different levels of grades. But I knew the elementary school was newer. So, of course, you're going to get more money and more positiveness out of that. But what was cool about the school I went to is that we had this rocket science program. And in the program, we got to do assignments and tasks. And we split up, and one of us would be launching the rocket, and the other one would be in the rocket performing tasks. It's one of my favorite things. As a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut, an archaeologist, a firefighter, or a ballerina because I felt like I needed something girly in there. Didn't do any of those things. So we had Alaska, who we adopted in elementary school. We had Jack. We had Hazard. We had Prince. We had Huckleberry. We had Angel, and we had Buddy. And then my mom had snakes. Yeah. And my mom had snakes. I think they were in the extra bedroom that we had. One of the snakes she had was maybe a 10-foot Nicaraguan rainbow boa that someone had snuck into Florida and end up in my mother's hands. And this was a really mean and vicious snake who only ate chickens and rabbits, and she was nasty. And my mother ended up with her. And my mother has killed a lot of animals. Snakes being a heavy one, because using the substances she uses and drinking make her forgetful. And one of these times she was forgetful and didn't clamp the door after feeding to the cage shut tight enough. And Josephine, the snake, because their bodies can flatten and expand. We had these gaps under our door. Even though she was about this big, we had these gaps under our doors. And when my alarm went off in the morning, I had to let all the dogs out to use the restroom. So I go in my mom's room, I'd open the door, her dogs would come out, and then I have my dog, and they go to my room. And in my room, I had a sliding glass door, and I left the back porch door always open. So I just opened my door, and they would go from the screened in back porch to the backyard and do their stuff. I don't turn on lights. Lights bothered me. Lights have always bothered me. I'd rather see in the dark, try to think I'm a cat. And I did everything I was doing, and I was walking over to the sliding glass door, and I stepped on something that was very cold and, like, I don't want to say squishy, but it felt rubbery under my foot. And I jumped back, and I can barely see along the wall. There's this thing going up my wall. And the dogs are still standing there, mind you. And I go back, and I flip on the light, and I see this big snake up against my wall. And I was like, ah. So I call the dogs. Thankfully, the recall was really good on the boys, unlike my little poodle baby over here. And they came out. I shut the door. I went to my mom. And you have to wake up my mom in a certain manner. If you don't, you get yelled at because of the irritability, like right off the bat. And so I went over, and I was like, Mom. She's like, I was like, Mom, there's a really big snake in my room. And as soon as I said it, she said, oh, fuck. Jumped up, grabbed her robe, grabbed the snake hook. She had snake hooks, she had snake boots, and went in the room with her boyfriend and got Miss Josephine back out. And she goes, I remember hearing our dog Alaska bark, and I kept yelling at him, and he wouldn't stop barking. Sounds kind of similar to the story of the spider bites that I got. Don't get up and look. Don't check. That was fun. My bird Buddy. Those types of birds, the double yellow-headed African parrots, tend to be singular owner birds. And he originally belonged to my mom's best friend. My mom's best friend, his name was Dawn. And she had a Boston accent, I believe. And so the bird had a Boston accent. And she would go over to this friend's house who had roommates. I think one of them was a tattoo artist, because I remember getting tracing paper and lots of cartoons, because I really wanted to draw. I really wanted to learn art. And I didn't really get that opportunity until half a semester in middle school, and then half a semester in high school. It was all the art I ever got. Yeah, I painted that. This is why I need more art. And she would bring me to this house, I assume to use her substances and do whatever, and leave me in the living room with those big projection box TVs. So it was maybe 40, 45 inches, I think, but it was, the one that had the speaker. It would sit on the speaker itself and then the huge back. So I'd watch that, sit on the couch, and at the end of the couch was the bird cage. And I was always told not to touch the bird. And I went over there so many times that me and the bird, because I would absolutely sit as close to his cage as I could, and I would just sit next to him. And we would sit there together, and eventually he started letting me pet him. And eventually I could go over there and just show up and pet the bird. And they were shocked that I was able to form this bond. Well, I wasn't. You left me alone with this bird for hours on end, for days. Like, not days in a row, but every time I went over there, I was there for hours while you were in the back in the rooms doing who knows what. So I bonded with this bird, and his name was Buddy. And his owner said, "Well, you can have him." Okay, sure, I'll take this living creature that you've made a responsibility to. And I did. And I couldn't understand. I remember this. I couldn't understand he was a single person bird. And I was so excited to show that I created a bond with something on my own when people said I couldn't do it. And I did it. And I created this bond with this bird. And I tried to show my dad, and he bit my dad in the face and gave him a black eye. And that's when I knew that this bird is just my bird. He called me Dawn, not Dawn. He called me Dawn. Hey, Dawn. He liked Michael Jackson, and he liked when I made my legs into a cave and shouting hello. um, I didn't fully trust him, which really sucked. I wish I did. I still had to use his stick to step up on him, but he was beautiful. He was amazing. He was mine, just like Jack. Prince pretty much became mine too. The previous owner had fed him nothing but seed, which is kind of like giving a child nothing but candy. And I only had him a few years, maybe 3, if I'm lucky, before he passed away. And he passed away. I found out when he died at the end of Forrest Gump, and the dang feather flies away. So now I have a hard time watching the end of Forrest Gump. Trauma. That was sad. I remember putting him in the freezer. Back to the house with when we first got the birds and the snakes, the animals. I remember my mom putting the snakes outside in a tank, wanting them to have sun, and not realizing that the glass would reflect the sun and burn them, and they melted. That was sad. I didn't care for my mother's boyfriend. She liked him because they got to scuba dive, and he worked on the G.I. Jane movie. And they went scuba diving a lot. And when they would go scuba diving in places like Jenny Springs, where the little strip of hotels are, like, we would get left in the room, my sibling and I, while they would scuba dive, which wasn't very safe. I remember he had a son. I mean, his son was about my age, so we bonded. I remember we accidentally got the Spice World movie on a 24-hour or 48-hour pass, and we watched every time it came on because we didn't want to get in trouble and not use it. So we watched the entire 48 hours straight of Spice World. You're welcome, girls. You're welcome. We would routinely, like, when he would stay over, we would stay in the living room, and one of us to sleep on the couch, one of us to sleep on the floor and hang out. And we had a computer. So our dining room table in this house was in the kitchen. So, and our dining room was bird cages, and next to the kitchen was a desk. And that's where the computer was, by the sliding glass door into the backyard. Well, where I was laying on the couch one night with his son next to me on the floor, we have 2 windows that go pretty high up, maybe 8 feet long, maybe 10 feet long, next to a fireplace in the middle. And then there was a banister, and then it was the front door. And I'm laying facing the windows, which are projecting whatever he's on his computer, which it wasn't whatever, it was porn. This guy was at midnight leaving the bed with my mother to come into where children are at and watching porn on the computer. I have no idea if he jacked off. That was really rough. Sorry. I have no idea what he did. I just remember seeing a lot of pictures. I remember my mom waking me up one night after she got done on a date and then Martin had proposed and she wanted to know if I liked him, if it was going to be okay. And I remember just saying, "What makes you happy? I want you to be happy. Because if you're happy, then the yelling stops and the hitting stops and the shame stops and the guilt stops." So after they got engaged, they wanted us to move to nowhere. And I'm not quite sure what broke down, but eventually they broke up. In Should I just stop at middle school? I'm over an hour already. Yeah, maybe I will, guys. For whoever does watch this. I feel like I could ramble on because I have so much in middle school. Um Gosh, I guess I really didn't finish. It's hard. This is hard. I know my timeline's not super linear and I'm trying to remember a lot. I have some stuff written down. I don't know how far I'll get, so I don't have everything written down. Because it is a lot and it is hard to write it out, especially because I have issues with my hands. It hurts to grip. So I think I'll stop here for now. I'm going to make some notes about the things we spoke about, some notes on things I want to make sure for next time to speak on. I think at some point I might just have to do a stream, and maybe this is something I'll think about doing on Wednesday. I am going to show up on Wednesday and do another stream. I'm going to use my BPD card deck and my DBT card deck and maybe a workbook and actually hold myself accountable, especially as I'm going through this journey right now. I don't want to not cater to my mind and body connection and make sure that I give care to myself and not dig this deep stuff down deep and just say, okay, it's down here somewhere and I'll just set it aside until the next time I talk. No, it's going to come up. It's going to come up at random times. And I have to learn to deal with these things as they come up. So maybe next on Wednesday, in 2 days, I think it'll be a later stream just for the fact I have therapy in the morning and then I have chiropractic in the afternoon. I don't know if I'll have a timeline in between to do something, but I think I will when I get back home. And maybe I'll, instead of continuing on with my story, maybe I'll jump into just a mother stream or just a father stream. So that way there's a more understanding of what I'm going through, what I'm trying to go through, what others could be going through that they don't see as abuse or they don't understand that is abusive, or they're trying to figure out what they can do to make things change, which is nothing. Our parents will change when they want to change, and a lot of them don't. So, breaking generational trauma is super fun. I really sucks that I couldn't actually see the atmosphere that I've created. I just see this black screen, but hopefully everyone else is entertained. If not, maybe it's a nice listen to. I don't know. I might be kind of assaulting to the ears because of my loud cackles. Yes, I cackle. My husband likes to call me out for cackling. I just have a good laugh, I think. I think it's a good laugh. You might be irritated, and I apologize if you're irritated, but it's my laugh. Um, Thank you for continuing on. I'm sorry it was a little bit longer stream. Sorry, my BPD self, something that I haven't explained fully. That's what I'll do. I'm gonna go more into BPD on Wednesday. But I'll leave my parents for another day because it's so heavy and it'll be like multiple chapters. I'm gonna go more into the BPD because right now, after all that heaviness, I feel gray. I feel flat. I feel like slate. I feel like concrete. Um, which is actually okay for me. It's okay to be in the gray because I don't want to feel too much of one emotion or another. But sometimes it's all I feel, and it's hard to. It's almost numbing. So I'm actually starting to turn gray because my body goes, all right, you're done, you're finished. Let's turn everything off. So I will see hopefully some of you on Wednesday. If not on Wednesday, you can see me on Thursday, you can see me on Friday, you can see me next week. See me at your own time. Um, Again, share if you feel like someone could use this. Share if you feel like you could use this. Eventually, I do want to have a more interactive role and bring on people who are ready and willing to share their story and share their struggle to know about all the different struggles that are out there. You've already seen, if you're part of my group, Roller Coaster of Storms on Facebook. If you're part of my group, I've shared some of my friends' personal stories. And if you want to share, I'm here for it. I'm here to support. I'm here to be your cheerleader. I'm here to push you. I'm a pusher. Uh, I want to see healing. Instead of the war on drugs, we need to do the war on trauma. The war on being a victim in your own family or your own environmental factors, whatever that looks like to you. Not being able to have your voice. I want to be able to provide a platform for not only my voice, but for others' voice. And if they want me to be their voice, I'm happy to be their voice. It's loud and annoying. Anyways, please have a good Monday. It is Monday. Have a good Tuesday. If anything, maybe even have uneventful days. Those are better than too good or too bad. Stay in the middle, stay in the wise mind, things that I will continue to discuss, especially on Workbook Wednesdays. See you all then. Bye.